Tyler Stevenson seems headed for a hot streak at the perfect time for both him and for the Reds.
You are Locked On Reds, your daily Cincinnati Reds podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Reds podcast. My name is Jeff Carr, and I am a lifelong Cincinnati Reds fan. Been podcasting about this team for 7 years now. I'm glad that you're alongside me here today on this momentous day. This is the day, of course, that the GOAT was born. Happy birthday to Joseph Daniel Votto. Anyway, glad that you're alongside me here today. Locked On Reds is part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team, your Cincinnati Reds, every single day. And on today's show, Nick Pivetta stands in the way of momentum for the Reds. We'll discuss that later on. In just a few minutes, we'll break down the big night that three potential future difference makers had on Tuesday for the Reds. But I want to begin with Tyler Stevenson because he couldn't pick a better time to go on a tear. That's all coming up on today's podcast that is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. All right, Tyler Stevenson had a heck of a night on Tuesday night. He really had two home runs. It's just that, sure to be Platinum Glove winner Fernando Tatis robbed him of one of them. But the big home run came in the ninth inning to give the Reds the 4-2 lead that they would not relinquish, and they would end up winning the game because of that home run. And it wasn't just because, he hits one home run, here comes a hot streak. It's the way he looked at the plate. And one of the things he said post-game, because he crushed everything he saw. Even his ground outs were hard hit. He had two ground outs, he had a homer, and he had the what ended up being a flyout that was 101 miles an hour that Fernando Tatis just perfectly played. But the home run he hit in the ninth inning was at 105 miles an hour. And if it weren't for a guy with a glove in front of the metal company building there in the left field corner, pretty sure that thing would have broken through the brick. I mean, he hit that thing. It was a screaming shot out of the ballpark off of Robert Suarez, the Padres closer. And he's looking really confident at the plate. The way that he hit that, even Cowboy said it on the broadcast, like he had a look in his eye of, things are clicking. And if things are clicking for Tyler Stevenson right now, this would be huge for the Reds lineup, but it would also benefit himself. And I'll get into that here in just a minute. But let's talk about why the Reds need this, because the Reds put a small bet on Tyler Stevenson. The Reds did this thing, and we're going to break this down a lot as we get into the offseason, but the Reds did this thing where they said, we don't need to go out and get a cleanup hitter because we have a couple of guys who we could see growing into the cleanup hitter role. Christian Encarnacion-Strand was the big bet, and that fell flat. But there was a smaller bet placed on Tyler Stevenson, and he hasn't quite delivered on that either. He's dealt with injuries this year. His year started late because of injuries. He's been on the IL a couple of different times, and he's not even going to reach 100 games. Unless the playoffs happen and the Reds make a deep run, he's going to play less than 100 games this season because of injury. But even in the games that he has played, it's kind of been a malaise for him in 2025. Before Tuesday night's home run, his slugging percentage was below 400. And in fact, that one home run, based on, the playing time that he's had and all that stuff, has vaulted his slugging percentage above the 400 mark. He's now at 401, but it was at 391 going into Tuesday night. And his slash line as a whole going into Tuesday night was a 225 batting average, a 312 on base, and a 391 slugging. That's fine if you're talking about a normal catcher, but we don't talk about Tyler Stevenson as a normal hitting catcher. We talk about him as a good hitting catcher. Those are not good hitting catcher numbers. So not only is he not delivering on the bet that Nick Krall put on him to be a cleanup hitter type of guy, he's not even being a good hitting catcher. And so if he goes on a hot streak now, that not only helps this Reds lineup and you could see him move closer to the middle of the order there, but it also helps himself. Think about where he is in his own career. We talked about this ad nauseum at the beginning of the season, that he was approached with contract extension offers that he deemed not even worthy of countering. He thought they were so low. He thought that, I don't know that he specifically used the word disrespectful, but he used every word but disrespectful. Let's put it that way. So the Reds gave him an offer that he felt he could only refuse. And I think that it's important to note that in a season where he was betting on himself to have a big year, he is not. So this last 3 weeks of the season, we're to less than 20 games now. He doesn't have a whole long time to really build a case, but he's going into his final year of team control next year. And as Steve and I have talked about quite a lot on the podcast, the Reds are trying to operate as though they are a smartly run baseball team. And there are a lot of smartly run baseball teams that approach players who only have one more year of team control as trade chips. Is he a trade chip this offseason? Is he a contract extension candidate this offseason? These last 20 games are really going to be important for that. Because although I mentioned, he's had a bad year so far at the plate, he's also not been unlucky. I talk about that a lot with batting average on balls in play and things like that. Of like, okay, a guy's stats say one thing, but there's some other underlying numbers that say that things are going to turn around here soon. He hasn't had that like he's had in years past. Like last year, everydayers will know, I stood on a table and told you that a breakout was coming because he was hitting the ball super hard early on in the season. He was just getting unlucky. And then it happened in June and he blew up and he had a nice season. He hasn't had that this year. And he keeps hitting the IL and different things like that. And so it saps any power that he's got. But to see it on Tuesday night made me believe that it's about to happen. Because even though his low slash line for this season has been that way, he's actually, at least according to batting average on balls in play, he's above league average. His batting average on balls in play is .325. So it's not as if the numbers are pointing to this. It's the eye test. It's what I saw on Tuesday night. And that'll be super huge for him because I think the best case scenario for him, and the best case scenario for the Reds in either situation, if you are in the camp that you believe the Reds should keep Tyler Stephenson, which I think I have a foot in that. I'm pretty sure I want the Reds to keep him. But there's a lot of different performance aspects to this that make me wonder. But I'm definitely not in the camp, and I know that there are people who want the Reds to trade him. Either camp is benefited from him having a big September because as it stands right now, he's going to go into the offseason at a low point in his trade value if you think he should be traded. And as he goes into the offseason with the way that he's played this year, he's not going to be able to sit there and negotiate for a whole lot more money than what he probably was offered early on. We don't know those numbers, but I can only imagine that there was a number that Tyler Stevenson had in his mind and they weren't even close to that. And so for him to argue for himself to get the Reds to come closer to that number, he's going to have to go off. And the fact that he should have had 2 home runs on Tuesday night is a big stepping point. Because this Reds team, while these first 2 games in San Diego, randomly, you go out to Petco Park and you start seeing the Reds hitting long balls. Go figure. They play in the most homer-friendly, or one of the most homer-friendly parks in the league. But it takes them going out to San Diego, one of the least homer-friendly parks in the league, to go off. Whatever. But they've hit some long balls out there. For them to continue this just holding on to this super thin thread now, as they're only 3 games out of the wild card spot, Tyler Stephenson's going to have to step up. Because we're not seeing anybody else step up with any sort of regularity. And he's the guy who can be probably the most consistent. It's between him and Spencer Steer, but Spencer Steer just really hasn't taken that mantle this year. So I'm looking at Tyler Stephenson. It's time to go, man. And if you're not going to go now, when? So hopefully he transforms Tuesday night into a hot streak. But when it comes to something else, I coming up next, I want to discuss this because I've seen enough. The Reds need to focus on one man for the future at first base, and his name is Sal. The NFL season is here, and we are in the stretch run of the baseball season as well, and FanDuel is making sure that you're ready for all of it with this can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And I'm looking right now at the Reds because tonight against Nick Pivetta, against the Padres, we'll get into this a little bit more here in just a few minutes, but I kind of like Noelvi Marte to go yard. They got the odds on that happening at plus 440. Had a half an off day yesterday. Still didn't hit that well at the plate. I think he's bouncing back in a big way tonight. Going to homer off the Padres. That's Noelvi Marte plus 440 to get that home run. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And you've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that actually works. There's so many products out there, so it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, and it's trusted by over 1.5 million people, including myself. I've been using it, and this stuff actually really does the trick. And it's not just the hype. It's a supplement that's clinically tested, and it targets the root causes and of thinning and shedding, and it's proactive in its approach. In fact, I got a lot. I mean, I wear a lot of hats, you guys know, on the podcast, and I got a lot of family history genes that are saying that this hair, it ain't gonna last much longer, and Nutrafol is helping me combat all of that. See thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For a limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On Reds listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Thank you for making Locked On Reds part of your everyday routine. If you are an everydayer out there, you rock. And if you're not an everydayer, hit that subscribe button and become one right here on YouTube or on your favorite podcast app. Last night was a big night, not only for Tyler Stevenson. There was also, Will Benson had a great game, including the kind of catch that you would put on some sort of highlight reel of like, I cannot believe he did that, because he caught a ball up against the wall in a weird spot of the wall at Petco Park where there was like this padding that was sort of jutting outward from the fence. So he thought he was jumping into the fence, and then this like outgoing bit of jutting just absolutely smacks his head. And thankfully, they said after the game, and Terry Francona confirmed, that he has no concussion symptoms. It's just, muscular. And he was really kind of holding his shoulder after laying on the ground for a minute. He holds on to this ball, though. It's a crazy thing that he even held on to the ball for the catch. But he made this amazing play, and it looked like he was done, because it looked like he just got, his head taken off by the wall. And he came back out, and he played more. And we saw him take another at-bat. And all this, he had a nice night. He homered. It was great to see Will Benson. Would love to see more of him. Although, at least according to Terry Francona, there's going to be a lot of soreness. I doubt we see him on Wednesday. But that was fun to see. But the most fun part of this game, outside of Tyler Stevenson, was the young bucks, right? Sal Stewart, Connor Phillips, and Zach Maxwell all had a night. But I want to start with Sal, because Sal looks like the real deal at first base. And I get it. We've seen him only a couple of different times, and it feels like an overreaction. But there's something about the way that he looks. And we're real heavy on the eye test here today. I don't know what's going on. Usually I like to throw in a lot of numbers and things like that, but the eye test is just absolutely in favor of Sal Stewart. He hits a home run. Sal gets the nod at first base, plays the entire night at first base, and hits second. Yeah, Terry Francona decided that a kid who'd played 5 games deserved hitting second, and he was rewarded because his first at-bat, Sal goes yard, dead center field. Sal can bang. On Joey Votto's birthday, we talk about, hitters who can bang. Sal can bang. Joey Votto still bangs, by the way. Anyway, just wanted to get that out there. But Sal he absolutely crushed this ball. According to StatCast, it was 106.7 miles an hour. His average, and he's played too small a sample size to get real excited about his average exit velocity just yet, but Sal Stewart's average exit velocity is 93.5 for everything that he puts in play. That's kind of fun, man. And that just fuels the eye test that you see. He's got this swing that seems to have all kinds of power behind it. And this is a swing that we've not seen from a lot of different guys on this team. As much as Ellie has a fast swing and can really get through the zone, for some reason the power's just gone, and I think it has to do with him playing every day and different injuries and stuff like that. We won't get into that on today's pod. Everydayers know my standpoint on this. Dude should have had an off day a month ago. But Sal Stewart is showing the kind of power that you can trust. And then you add in his glove. Dude flashed the leather on Tuesday night because there were a couple of different plays, especially one where the Reds had a shot at a double play, but the ball was bouncing super weird, and it was a slow hit, and you're like, oh boy, this could be a no-out play instead of a double play that was off the bat of Manny Machado, but he was able to field it cleanly and turn very smoothly and throw it to Elliott second to get Fernando Tatis, who was the lead runner on this play. I mean, Tatis is not slow. The fact that he was able to make the play and in one motion throw it to Ellie perfectly, it was online, easy, get that out. I love him at first base. And there were a couple of throws that he was able to stretch to and grab. Not really any scoop plays. I know we talked a lot about that on yesterday's pod when we talked about Spencer Steer. But there were some plays that I'm like, man, he looks like a good first baseman. And he looked loose. He looked comfortable. I get it. He's only played a couple, and there's a couple of people that have already come at me and said, Jeff, he's played like 5 games at first base in AAA, and that's it. Why on earth do you think he is a first baseman? Because my eyes are telling me. I'm seeing it. I see the swagger. He's got a swagger about him. He's got a quirkiness about him that's easy to root for. There's a personality to him. I feel like we see guys come up and we see them play, and we get like glimpses of who they are on the field, and most of them are pretty boring. Sal Stewart is anything but boring. Sal Stewart looks like the kind of guy that I could root for. I'm not going to say that I could root for him as much as Joey Votto, because Joey Votto is my all-time favorite Red, and I think no one will ever replace that part for me personally. But there's something about Sal. And I think that the Reds need to commit to him. They need to commit to him at first base. They need to commit to players playing specific spots. They've got too many guys that you can deem as a super utility. Like Spencer Steer has played first base, and he's played it admirably, but I don't think he's a first baseman. And he has told Steve, and there was an interview, it's back in the archives that you have to go looking for it, but we had Spencer Steer on, and he told Steve like his favorite position is second base, not first base. And as admirably as he's played that position, and we've had different broadcasters on the Reds broadcast team calling him a Gold Glover or a potential Gold Glover, I see a hole in his game that a first baseman needs to have. Needs to be able to stretch and scoop. Got to pick the ball. I don't think Spence is very good at that. I think Sal's got a chance. I think Sal could be that guy. And with him coming up, and you're saying, okay, well, the 2 positions he played in the minor leagues are third base and second base, and he really only played second base because the Dragons had Cam Collier at third base, and so they wanted to get both those guys in the lineup, but they had to find somewhere else for Sal. Sal's really athletic, but I think that he profiles really well as a first baseman, just based on what I've seen in a few times. And you can call it an overreaction, and I won't fight you too much on it because I kind of think it might be, but I think that this needs to be the plan, because we can't just have another guy that doesn't have a position to play. The Reds already have a couple of those guys, and they fill them in different spots, and there are certainly some that they are better at than others, but they're not good at any one spot. We need less jack of all trades and more masters of one. And hopefully Sal can be that guy at first base. But not to be outdone, a couple of great relief performances from Zach Maxwell, Big Sugar, or as Cowboy calls him, Shug. And I think I might follow his lead on that. But Shug and Connor Phillips needs a nickname now. Yeah, we'll work on that. Anyway, Shug and Connor Phillips looked awesome against the Padres. And let's kind of put this into perspective as to who they faced. This was a night where, man, you had Tony Santillan pitching like every other day for the last week. You had Scott Barlow, feels like his arm's about to fall off, so they needed somebody. I get that part of it. But Shug and Connor Phillips stepped up. They're showing more and more that they should be part of this bullpen next year, and I'm having a hard time fighting it, because Zach Maxwell had a scoreless inning, and he struck out Luis Arraez on 3 pitches. For context, Luis Arraez is the best hitter at not striking out in the major leagues. Coming into last night's game, he had a strikeout rate of 3%, and I highly doubt that one strikeout even jumped it up to 4%. Like, he just doesn't strike out, and Zach Maxwell was like, cool, here comes a couple of 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. What you got? Good morning, good afternoon, good night, see ya. Grab some pie, pal. Love to see that. And then Connor Phillips, he faced the top of the Padres lineup. He faced Tatis, he faced Manny Machado, and all he did was he walked Fernando Tatis. He had pair of strikeouts, and he got Manny Machado to pop up. Great innings by both those guys. And as much as the Reds do need to add to their bullpen, argue that they have to rebuild it because I don't think they're bringing back Emilio Pagan, it's clear that Zach Maxwell and Connor Phillips have earned spots. You could make an argument that Luis May could also earn a spot. Tony Santillan is the de facto closer, though I think the Reds would be better suited if they bring in a bona fide closer. But I love what Maxwell and Phillips have done. Sorry, Shug. Don't call him Zach Maxwell. It's Shug here on the pod. Love to see those guys. But big nights for some young dudes, and put Sal at first base for the future, Reds. Please. But here we go. Last game of the Padres series, last game of the season for the Reds and the Padres, and they face a must-win road game against one of the best pitchers in the National League. You know what time it is. It's game time, and there's no better time to go to game time than right now with the Reds in the stretch run, with the Bengals getting their season going, Bearcats football going on. So many great things to check out around Cincinnati, and Game Time is your key to all of it. Game Time has amazing last-minute deals with the lowest prices on tickets, and I love using this app. Seriously, anytime I go to a ball game, whether it's a Reds game, a Bengals game, a Bearcats game, I'm getting on Game Time to see what the deal is because they got the deals. Got to check them out today. Plus, if you're going to a new place, they show you your view from your seat because their goal is to make ticket buying easier for you. Check out the Game Time app today. Download it, create an account, and use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB to get $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's download the app, create your account, use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll save $20 off your first purchase on Game Time. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. If you can't watch the podcast here on YouTube, you can always listen to us on your favorite podcast app. We're on every single one of them out there. Go check us out today. And make sure you check out the Locked On Reds Discord page. Got a link down in the description of today's podcast. Got a lot of great folks talking Reds baseball. I'm on there while they're on this last bit of their West Coast road trip in San Diego, and they're heading to Sacramento. Almost said Oakland again this weekend, but we'll be all over Discord talking Reds baseball all the time. Check out that link today. All right, here we go. The end of this series that we call it a must-win, that the Reds don't win in San Diego, and we saw why on Monday. In fact, Tuesday night's game was a carbon copy of Monday's game, except the Reds figured out how to win it, and they didn't let it go to extras, which I really hope they do again tonight. But the way that the Reds play the Padres in San Diego, it just kind of makes you want to claw your eyes out sometimes because these games are wild. They're crazy. And now enter in one of the best pitchers in the National League. Nick Pivetta is pitching for the Padres tonight. And no matter who's on the mound for the Reds, it's all about how the Reds lineup faces Nick Pivetta, period. Because we have seen this, where they get a couple of runs early, get up a little bit, and then they go to sleep. In fact, after Will Benson's home run in the second inning on Tuesday night, the Reds had two singles the rest of the way until Tyler Stevenson hit a home run in the ninth inning. That's it. That's not the kind of brand of baseball you want to rely on every single night. But you're facing a guy in Nick Pivetta that just, man, he is pitching really well. And quite frankly, the Padres are so confident in Nick Pivetta that they just really went aggressively hard on their bullpen these last 2 days. Think about what the Reds saw. They saw Jeremiah Estrada, Mason Miller, and Robert Suarez. Both nights. Suarez pitched multiple innings in the first game and then gave up the go-ahead home run to Stevenson on Tuesday night. And Jeremiah Estrada pitched multiple innings on Tuesday night. I have a hard time thinking that any one of those three guys is available for them. So they are betting on Nick Pivetta tonight. They think that Nick Pivetta is going at least go 6, probably 7. And they've kind of got good reason to feel that way. I mean, he's made 28 starts this year, has Nick Pivetta, and just 7 of them have been less than 6 innings. 21 starts of 6 or more innings. That is impressive. But add on to the fact that in his last 15 starts, only 2 of them has he allowed more than 2 runs. That's 13 out of his last 15 starts. He's holding opponents to 2 runs or less while he's on the mound. That is crazy. The efficiency that he has is amazing, but the Reds are going to need to get after him. They're going to need to force him to throw pitches, which he doesn't do. Like, he is very efficient. His walk rate is elite. League average is 8.8. He's at 6.8. He's one of the best at limiting walks. And while he doesn't just light up the scoreboard with strikeouts, while he doesn't light up the box score with strikeouts, his strikeout rate is 26.5%, which is 4% better than league average as well. So he's good at both things. And oh, by the way, he's got a 2.85 ERA in 164 innings. He's good. He's just good. And when you look at his splits and you're like, is there a weakness? Is it lefties? Can lefty hitters get up on? He's better against lefties than he is against righties. So all of this is stacking up against the Reds. You can stack, and Terry Francona is going to do this. Terry Francona can stack lefties against him if he really wants to, but it doesn't matter because Nick Pivetta has been better against lefties. Lefties have less of a batting average, less of an on-base, and a lot less, like 100 points less slugging against Nick Pivetta. A lot of it has to do with the pitch mix that he has because Pivetta throws every kind of fastball. He throws a four-seamer, throws a cutter, throws a sinker. He throws a sweeper and a curve, which obviously are 2 completely different like break patterns. Like the sweeper goes sideways, and the curveball goes down. And then he mixes in, and he doesn't do this very often, but sometimes the sweeper's a slider, so it breaks a little bit less. And so the batter thinks that he's got a beat on it, and then he doesn't. And he's thrown a couple of splitters this year. And by a couple, I literally mean 5. But that's kind of like one of those show-me pitches that it's going to mess with the hitter if he drops one in there. So he's got this kind of pitch mix that he can really draw upon. And while his velocities aren't elite, his control is. His control and command is. And we talk about this all the time when it comes to pitchers. It doesn't matter if you can throw 101 if you can't locate it. But if you can throw 95 and locate it, you're dangerous. And that's what Nick Pivetta does. And he does it all with movement. The four-seam fastball sets up everything, and he throws it more than the other pitches, but it's not like he throws it 50% of the time. He keeps that generally contained, and everything else plays off of it. So this is going to be tough because the Reds are trying to build a little bit of momentum here. The Mets are falling on hard times. They're losing to the Phillies. The Reds are now 3 games back of the wild card, but the Giants are ahead of them because the Giants continue to win. They're just not losing right now. They're only 2 games back of the wild card spot. So the Reds might not just be chasing the Mets. They might be chasing the Giants too. So you got to win tonight. This is a must win for the Reds. I think if they lose this game, we're really starting to talk about, all right, what's next year look like? As much as the momentum feels good right now, they are now facing the kind of guy that can stop that. Nick Pivetta has stopped that all year long for the Padres. This is the kind of guy that the Reds are really going to have to force to work, and they've not really done that in San Diego. Last night they had 2 walks. Both of them were drawn by Gavin Lux. He should play again today. They've been playing a lot of lefty-righties with him, despite the fact that Gavin Lux has struggled mightily in his career in San Diego. But he'll start against Nick Pivetta for sure. So you're going to have to see guys take from Gavin Lux's perspective and really force Pivetta to throw a lot of pitches. We're going to need to see a lot of defensive swings, hitting foul balls off, forcing Pivetta to throw more pitches. Because if they're swinging early, this is going to be a short game. And this is going to be a loss. Period. I don't expect the Reds to parlay aggressiveness early on in the count into a win on Wednesday night. I could be wrong. I've been wrong before. A lot. But I do know one thing. When it comes to this team, they've got to play to the pitcher's strengths. or they got to they got to play to the pitcher's weaknesses. I think I mixed the whole thing up. But if they know that Pivetta's not going to walk them, make them work. Got to get up there, choke up, do all that stuff. Defensive swings. I'm not about to do a coach thing anyway. Yeah, that's going to be how they have to win, because if they can force the Padres to get into their bullpen, I don't think we see the A squad of the Padres bullpen. Now, their B squad's still pretty good, and I'd still take anyone out of that bullpen and add it to this Reds bullpen in a heartbeat, probably as the closer, at least as the setup guy. But you're doing a lot better if you're chasing Nick Pivetta before 6 innings. Remember, like I said, if the Reds are able to chase him before he throws 6 innings, that'll be just the 8th time this year that happens. This dude throws. He throws well. It's going to be a tough one. We'll talk about it all tomorrow on the podcast. Steve will be back with me. Had a work conflict. Couldn't quite jump on today's show with me, but he'll be back tomorrow. And we'll be breaking down the end of this Padres series and getting you ready for the A's. Just A's, because we don't like to talk about where they play. Or at least Major League Baseball doesn't. They're in Sacramento. That's where they're at. And that's where the Reds will be. We'll be talking about that all on tomorrow's podcast. Make sure you join us for that. We'll be with you every step of the way, the rest of the season, no matter what happens, and then getting you into the offseason. An offseason that's going to be very tumultuous, quite frankly, because we got to stop messing around with what's going on with these Reds. If the window ain't open now, win. Hopefully, the Reds win today, the Mets lose today, and we see this window creak open just a little bit more for 2025. But that'll wrap us up. Thank you so much for checking out today's Locked On Reds podcast. Make sure you subscribe, become an everydayer, make us part of your everyday routine. Really appreciate it when you do. And when you do, you get Tim Daniel on the Reds postcast. He goes live at the end of every ball game. That includes West Coast, so he's going to be up with us late tonight too. And make sure to hit subscribe. Now, check out Locked On MLB. Sully's got you covered with great views around the league, and you've got Locked On MLB Game Night that watch every game every night so that you don't have to. Thanks so much. You guys know we will be Locked On Reds every single day.